Okay, hey, flooring pros. I'm Jerry Levinson, and this is the Flooring Business Podcast, where we talk to expert flooring dealers, suppliers, marketing experts, software experts, and anyone I believe that's going to help you in your flooring business. Now, my mission is to give you good information. It's going to help you reach your goals. If you're just starting your business, or you're trying to reach 5 million in sales, or you're getting ready to sell your business, you're going to find useful information that'll help you reach your goals and profit now in the flooring industry. Now, the Flooring Business Podcast is sponsored by FloorZap for the best flooring business operating system and websites in the industry. So you're going to love working with FloorZap. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So, all right. In this week's episode, my guest is Benny Powell, and he's an expert craftsman. We're doing the expert craftsman versus the professional salesperson. So we're going to have a discussion based on good selling practices and discuss what's truly important to your clients. So first off, Benny, tell us a little about yourself. What's the name of your company?
I'm with Powell Flooring.
Powell Flooring, okay. And where are you guys located at? What part of the world are you in?
I'm now in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
All right, great. Oh, you're probably freezing your ass off.
Today, but yeah, it usually is. Yep.
Yeah, you didn't get hit to like the rest of the country, or?
No, we stay warm here. I'm close to Cape Cod, so the ocean keeps it warm. It's just been windy and rainy today, but it is often colder than I want. Beautiful place in the summer, but not much fun in the winter.
Yeah, it's terrible here. I mean, it's like 50 degrees below, and I'm in Arizona. So, I mean, 50 below is we start off at 100 degrees. So 50 below is 50 degrees.
Yep.
So.
I started this business out in Lake Tahoe. I am by nature just a problem solver, but I am an installer. I worked as an employee for years. I learned carpet and sheet vinyl first. As things progressed, when I got my contractor's license, every call was for hard surfaces. I ended up starting a labor shop. I put a whole bunch of guys on payroll. I made deals with local showrooms that, there was a language barrier out west, and I could overcome that for them. So I put all the good installers in the area on my payroll, and we did all the installs no matter what got sold. I was also working on my own sales on the side. I ended up moving back to the East Coast for family reasons. This is where my family is. My wife's from Connecticut. When it was time to raise a family, the East Coast was where we ended up. So I started back up again, but I got the C15 California contractor's license, and I come from a belief of it's my job as a contractor to best fit the client with the floor that's going to fit their lifestyle and their expectations of the floor the best. So I do in-home consultations, and I will ask them, what is this place to you? Is this home forever? Are you going to flip this? Are you fixing it up to sell it? What are you doing here? And when they tell me it's their home, I tell them at the end of the day, the best return on their dollar, the best longest floor I can offer is hardwood. We've rebranded now. For years, I was you go buy your flooring and I'll install it guy. I would put in anything.
Okay.
I was introduced to vinyl planks out in California in 2005, 2006. We had a lot of issues with thermal expansion out there at elevation.
Really?
Yep. Big floor to ceiling, beautiful homes. The vinyl plank would bubble right off the floor, just blister.
No kidding.
And the reps looked at their watch and said, "Oh, you're above 5,500 square feet in elevation, and this product's not warranted up here."
Wow.
The showroom sat at 7,000 feet above sea level. So we went back to the showroom and threw every display in the dumpster. And out there were only 2 vinyl planks I could sell at that elevation. And one of them was Cortec, and the other one was Paradigm.
Oh, wow. Really?
Heavy duty cork backing on them. And they were warranted above that elevation. But again, the floating floors have their weaknesses. Out in California, some of those furniture is huge.
Yeah.
You've got huge beds that are made out of, post and beam beds. You've got a lot of safes in those homes, and a lot of pool tables. And over the years, as a contractor, I would get called to go look at jobs that had failed. And I got called in by showrooms, I got called in by homeowners, and I wasn't an inspector, but I had experience. Because oftentimes it was easier and cheaper to have a handyman put in a click floor than a flooring installer. But times I see a lot of guys putting it in incorrectly. You know, for example, the vinyl planks, they've got a long edge on them and they've got a short edge, what I call that butt joint. And in my opinion, that butt joint needs to be locked in first a lot of times, and then you manipulate the long edge into place. Whereas a lot of guys will do it the other way. But we're getting off topic. This is about sales.
Well, not necessarily. So this is very interesting. Couple more questions for you. Are you with Powell Flooring? What is your goal? What are you looking to do? Do you want to grow this business?
You know, I've lived the life of a lot of guys. I've lived the life of big overhead. And it can be stressful when you've got that many mouths relying on you to come up with an answer and have consistent work for them. It can be difficult. After I left California, I didn't think that I would ever have 7 or 8 guys working for me again. The atmosphere on the East Coast is a little bit more competitive, whereas those guys were a little bit more willing to cooperate to achieve a common goal.
Wow, that sounds exactly the opposite from what I would believe.
Really?
Yeah. The East Coast usually commands higher prices, usually have a lot more knowledge, experience, where the West Coast tends to move a little bit faster and care a lot less, is what my impression would be.
Correct. You get a lot of guys back here that are independents and think they know a lot and they want to do it their way. Whereas there's many different ways to do this kind of work. I don't know. I was in a unique situation out there, but.
So this conversation is not necessarily about how to run the business as a whole. It's more focused on the sales end, but we're going to talk about what's important and what's not. So, being that, are you going to always be the salesperson for your company, or will you grow it to the point where you have a salesperson?
You know, I had never really considered having another salesperson, because of the lack of knowledge and understanding. I never thought to have just a person that does sales and knows nothing about flooring. I have run into great frustrations with that business model. Again, I used to subcontract for a lot of showrooms. I don't anymore. I can walk into a home and I can identify any surprises. I understand automatically where floors are going to end up with height wises. You know, I can address baseboard concerns and door jamb and elevation issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas when you walk in just to make a sale, you can be real good at making the sale, but when you don't understand what the installer has to do, how can you accurately sell the job? For instance, I've been sent to jobs. I'll load up the truck with 4 guys and we'll drive to a huge hardwood install with carpet tear out. We start the tear out and I find particle board. Nobody thought to look under the carpet for particle board. That I can't put in hardwood on top of particle board. So now that becomes thousands of dollars in additional labor that homeowner has to pay. And to get that phone call at 8:30 when you've got 4 men in your house, I've never seen it go well. People like surprises. You know, people don't like change orders and price increases. So my philosophy has always been, I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not here to make you feel warm and fuzzy about yourself. I'm here to tell you what kind of flooring I can put in your environment that's going to last well, that I can warranty for as long as you're here. You know, and if you've got a $1 billion house that's got maple hardwood flooring in it and you want 2,000 square feet of hardwood torn out to put in vinyl plank, I'll tell you, no, I will not do that. I'll take out hardwood and put back in hardwood, but I will not tear out your home value. In my opinion, tearing out the wood tears out the home value, and putting in plastic is not doing that homeowner any justice. But in my area, you got to look out for, we've got a lot of basements around here. When the vinyl planks came out, they told us this product was the cure-all and it could go anywhere and it could do anything, and it wouldn't mind if there was a little bit of a dip in the floor. It would contour to that. And unfortunately, what we saw was a race to the bottom. And as the product got cheaper and cheaper, they tightened the install guidelines, you know. But you got to look out for pool tables. You've got to look out for safes in basements. You've got to look out for home gyms. Anything that heavy is going to pin a floating floor, and they often don't tell you that.
So here's what our challenge is. What the craftsmen fail to understand is that the salesperson may not have the knowledge, but working for the company, you got to have the right sales system and processes. So you're still giving good quality products and a great customer experience. It's not to dismiss quality products or a good installation experience. It's to say what's important to let a customer know. So let's start off with product and product knowledge. How important is it to know, you know, I was thinking about this. Let's say the core of the product is a cork and on one product, and the other core of the other product is made with egg whites and milk, but both of them perform exactly the same. Let's just say that they do in that home. Is it important to explain how that product is made to the customer?
It depends on what the customer's concerns are. If the customer says we've got health allergies and we've got, you know, we're concerned about indoor air quality and we want all this carpet taken out and we want laminate put in, I let them know right away that most laminates are made out of sawdust and formaldehyde.
So, well, and that's a little different scenario, but in general, the vast majority of customers are looking for beautiful new flooring.
Correct, but they also want healthy. They want to know that they made the right decision for them and their family and that it's going to last. They don't want to have to replace their floors
So
every.
healthy is an interesting thing because I could probably count the times on one hand in a year. I could probably maybe once or twice, I could tell you stories about people with the allergy concerns. I could tell you the stories because it's so infrequent. So
Yep.
How often do you run across that scenario?
I run into it often around here.
Do you? Okay.
We've got a lot of moisture issues in this area.
Well, and that's the other thing. Look, in towns and areas, that's even more important. So if you're in an area with a very common issue, then you build up your sales presentation and your process to address those issues that are common.
Yep.
You know, so, but that's something I can train any salesperson to do. I can create my process and system in a way that trains them. I asked a question in the forum the other day. Do you carry products in your showroom that you wouldn't recommend? You know, I kind of already know the answer to that question is that, you know, when people say that I only sell quality, like I won't sell garbage to customers. Well, the reality is you probably don't carry garbage in your showroom. So
Yep.
You don't give the customer an opportunity to buy garbage from you because you don't even have it available to sell.
Yep.
And that's how we were. I sell anything in my showroom and stand behind it. Now, if somebody was requesting something that I don't recommend, I just address that in the sales strategies, how you handle that. Because
Yep.
sometimes a customer will say, I want this product, and you just like, oh, you know, it's not a good product.
Yep.
But you don't lecture the customer about that. You kind of validate what they already think and already believe because they have done research. So you don't want to say, well, you're stupid, you're wrong. You here, let me show you this.
Correct. Well, I try to like to tell them about recent developments that we've learned recently, you know, and what the industry has learned after a few years.
Yeah.
Generally, a consumer generally has a color in mind. Right now in my area, it's gray. I'm on Cape Cod. We call it Cape Cod gray. I ask when somebody reaches out to me, I ask them to text me a photo of the area and a photo of what they have in mind. And generally they want something gray that they've seen online at a big box store. And I go into my warehouse and I'll make a couple calls to my reps. I'll forward that photo and say, I'm either looking for a click together floating floor or maybe a square edge glue down, and I want it this color. He will send me 3 options. I send them back to them and they pick a color and we go.
So where this is going to be a little bit different of a conversation. The people listening have to realize this. I do a lot of sales training and teach people how to move fast and how to build their business and how to scale. I don't spend a lot of time or energy trying to change the way a craftsman does his job and the way he sells, because the way you sell and other guys in the group who are installing their own work and do their own work, they're a lot more knowledgeable than the average customer. But if a guy goes on the yellow pages or not the yellow pages, but goes to Google and looks up flooring companies, he can pull up 4 flooring companies that have a showroom, have multiple salespeople, and they need to move faster. They need to be able to hire a salesperson and get them training, get them up and going faster. So, and I'm not trying to tell and lecture a craftsman who is the only salesperson that, no, you're doing it wrong, you should do it differently. My argument is you don't have to be as knowledgeable as you are to hire a salesperson and make that person successful in the company. And it's not about lying to the customer and misleading the customer or not doing what's in their best interest. Because some of these companies, I keep using them as an example, Refloor. The guy's got a $30 million company inside of a few years. He's only selling luxury vinyl. Okay, he's hiring salespeople and training them. Their knowledge is probably the lowest in the industry. And the guy has nothing but 5-star reviews. Stands behind the work, the workmanship, and the product. Gives a lifetime guarantee. So it's possible to give a good customer experience and do the job and do everything right without being as knowledgeable as somebody that's been an installer and knows the product inside out and knows everything.
The only way you're doing numbers like that is commercial work.
It's all residential retail.
Really?
Yeah, he's all residential retail. And the majority of the people are doing, even the smaller companies of $4 or $5 million or $10 million, they're doing mostly residential retail. Some commercial, some residential retail. And the margins, all the sales training I do is based on residential retail, not commercial. Higher margins and things like that. So, and for a guy like you, the training would be more about, all right, how do we shift people from luxury vinyl or laminate into hardwood? And that's something you're doing, right? You're doing that. That's where some of the stuff I say, like the hardwood, may not apply. But even with hardwood, if I own the hardwood, if I'm the expert, then what I'm going to do is create the process and system so I can hire any salesperson to duplicate me. And I'm not going to rely on them knowing everything, because I can go down the line and pull out the 5 to 10 most important things that you need to say in a sales presentation to that customer. So as a business owner, it's your job to help make your salespeople successful and to make sure that the customer gets a great experience. So you get repeat referral, you get 5-star reviews. All that's into play. I mean, so the expertise and the knowledge, it's not to say that it's worse to have it, but during the sale, it's not as important as some people believe. Like I would never hire an experienced salesperson.
I'm starting to see how that would work, but it's always struck me as funny that you've got retail locations, they're full of salespeople, and they don't know how flooring, they don't know the process. To me, it seems like that would be detrimental.
Is it more important that they don't know the process, or more important that the customer gets a good experience? I mean, if you're having nothing but failures and nothing but problems, then that company's not going to last very long, because you can't survive that.
Unless you've got deep pockets, but it's more important that they have a great experience.
Right.
Being said, you can sell a job. Is it a great experience when you discover an upcharge of $5,000 that maybe a salesman missed while he was in the house?
All right, so let's address that. If I'm doing high-end work, look, we're in Arizona. It's the installations are easy here. It's not, concrete. You don't have the challenges you have in other parts of the country. Here.
All right.
It's not near as challenging. So I don't run across a lot of these issues that you're talking about. And I have talked to other people and addressed that. Some people created a system where I'm going to send my expert out to your house. He's going to do the measure, make sure he gets all that information.
Yep.
And then we're going to email you a quote, an accurate quote that catches everything.
Yep.
So their system is done in a way that we're going to make sure the job is done right. My argument against that system is you're trying to get the job done right before you get the sale. What good is it to get it done right if you don't get the sale? So what I recommend that they do, let's get the sale and then have our expert go in and do a check measure and inspect the job, make sure that we have all the materials for the job, make sure that the floor, it can be installed, that there's not any problems. They can walk the job site. But let's do that after we got a deposit. We got the money. I'm not sending my expert out to a job unless I got money for it.
Yep. And that is brilliant. I was having that discussion with my wife last night. I've got nothing against that. I have worked for showrooms where I do the measures, so I'm there doing the measure. I'm there explaining the process. I'm there. All they've got to do is go to the showroom and pick out a product, and then I show up and do the install. But
see, and that dismisses, though, decorating, because the salesperson's job is to get in the home, look at the flooring, say, oh my God, this would go great with your cabinets. Or look at how this would look in your, this would go perfect with your lighting. I love this flooring. We just did this in the other home and it turned out fantastic. This is what I recommend that you do. It dismisses all that, and at the end of the day, we should be decorating, because, what is it that a customer's buying? Are they buying the finished product, a good looking new home, or are they buying the installation?
They're buying a floor. Getting a floor, if you've ever had your floors replaced, it can be an inconvenience.
I'm going to tell you, it's so much more than that. You have no idea. And I think part of the problem,
inconvenience, and have not a great experience, and worst case scenario, have a floor fail and then have to have it redone. That's a worst case scenario.
Right. And that's what installers see. That's what craftsmen see. They see how it's gone together and all that, but they don't realize, let's talk about the homeowner.
Yep.
How does that homeowner feel in the morning when she wakes up and steps on her new floor? What do you think that feels like?
She absolutely loves it. I love when my client into the room. Wow.
And what do you think? How do you think they feel when they have a party and have friends over and show them their house looks brand new? It looks amazing.
They're often pouring wine and walking the neighbors through before I'm even finished, to be honest with you.
Okay. That's what we're selling.
Correct. Yep.
We're selling the sex.
Yep. Sometimes I do this every day, so it becomes just standard to me. I tell people everybody's got a definition of easy. My easy is moving all the furniture, putting in all the floor. All you've got to do is pick a color. At the end of the day, the client wants a color. but the client wants a floor that is going to be problem free and last for their expectations. If they're flipping the house, they don't care how long it lasts. You can put in some real cheap stuff, it'll fall apart in 3 years. The homeowner doesn't care.
So
But
where I'm gonna disagree with you on that is the client expects that they're gonna get that anyway. Most clients believe a
No.
company, most of them believe if I do business with this company, the product's gonna hold up and the guy's gonna do the job right, because the salesperson said he would.
Correct.
So,
You know-
and maybe without explanation. So they're going to do, I trust that the company has 5-star reviews. I trust that they're going to do the job right. I mean, look, if people didn't trust that the company was going to do job right, Home Depot wouldn't sell a plank of flooring.
Yep.
So I think trust is more of a built-in thing. And people do believe that they're going to get a quality product and it's going to be done right. That they don't understand maybe some of the complications and things that go along with it. And I do think you can do that. And I teach people how to do that with the sales presentation. That your sales presentation, first of all, it should be on a piece of paper so it's visible. Because you telling me this, somebody else is coming in and telling me something else, and you may both be trustworthy. And then it goes down to maybe not only price, but what product do I like better in my home? And if the other person is helping me decorate and can make me more enthusiastic about the home and what I'm going to be getting, they
Yep.
have a better chance. One time I sold a job because the woman offered me cookies and I said, yeah, I'll take them. And so she says, okay, I'm going to go with you. And the husband said, wait, you got 2 more appointments coming out. She says, no, he likes my cookies. I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I get that. But I do feel at the end of the day, the client wants a floor that's going to last. And the vinyl planks have gotten a really good publicity push. I like to compare it to McDonald's. McDonald's has a great reputation. There's McDonald's everywhere. They're doing billions in sale. This stuff is not healthy. You eat McDonald's every day, you're going to die. You can put in a vinyl plank floor if you want your floor gray, but I could also, for a couple dollars more, probably put in hardwood and stain it gray. And what the client doesn't know is the failure rate of the click together floors, and some of the salesmen may not know it. In my opinion, so when we had problems with the thermal expansion, we had reps come out to the factory. It was in Connecticut. I moved out of California. I was in Connecticut, more thermal expansion problems. The reps came out and told us, if you're at a sliding glass door that faces south and you expect thermal expansion, go ahead and glue that area and that'll prevent the thermal expansion. And everybody in the room nodded their heads and went, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yep, absolutely. That'll fix the problem. And I raised my hand and real politely, I had to ask, hey, if my floating floor fails because I glued a section in front of the sliding door to prevent thermal expansion, are you going to warranty that failure? And they all had to start backtracking and taking back what they had said. And at the end of the day, their display went in the trash. These floors stay together. Some of these floors have limitations, and you can't go 60 feet with the click together vinyl floor without a couple transitions. But nobody wants a transition in their house. A lot of these homes on Cape Cod, they're vacation rentals, they're Airbnbs. So we've got a lot of suitcase traffic with wheels. And as good as that vinyl plank is, the transitions are subpar, in my opinion. A lot of the callbacks I've ever had to deal with are because the transition got kicked or it got broken. At the end of the day, when there's an issue on an install after the sale is made, it's just the installer who has to deal with it. The salesperson has already made their sale. They're paid by commission. They're on to the next party. They're not worried about a thing.
You're talking about something different, though. You're talking about maybe something that, well, either they don't have the knowledge or it's unethical. What I'm talking about is I can take everything you just said then
Yep.
I could build you a sales presentation where I don't have to have your knowledge. I could
Cor-
sell you better
Yep.
than you could sell you.
I believe that. And that's why I talk to you and that's why I follow you. I
Yeah.
understand I am a craftsman and not a salesman. And I understand probably should find a happy medium of what to say and what not to say in these homes.
Yeah.
About the other day, after following you, I am slowly learning. I didn't understand just sell the color at first. You know, I like to sell the process, and I'm learning through you that I don't have to sell the process. And I literally could send anybody there and look at colors, which gray goes best with your cabinet, which gray goes best with your walls, you know? And then, like you recommended, I could show up afterwards, but you can't really put the estimate together. In my opinion, you can't secure the sale until you know the extent of everything that needs to be done inside that home. And you
Yeah. And I
can't,
can show you where that's not true either.
I'm sure you could. But again,
So, because you are more concerned about the accuracy of your quote than
yep,
you are getting the job. So
correct.
let me ask you this. Do you think it's in the customer's best interest to go with you over somebody else?
Yes, I do.
Then you have an obligation to close that job as hard as possible, not to be the lowest price, not to be accurate. So
Yep,
if they do go with you, and let's say your price is higher than it would have been, let's say it's 10% higher than it would have been had you taken the time to get all the specifics and details in. Do you think that customer still got a good value and that they're going to be happy with the results because they went with you?
yes.
Do you think they give a one rip about the price after they've gotten the floor from you?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
so we don't need to figure out the price perfectly. We need to charge enough that we
Yep,
can do the job right and then give them an estimate in the home. And it's to give them the opportunity to buy now, because some customers, again, they don't care
yep,
about the price. I want to get this done. You
yep,
know, and what we do a lot of times, by the words we use and by the way we give our presentation, we force them to get estimates. We almost force them to try and save money. And that's what a line item quote does too. It's like, well, I'll do this, or I'll do that, or wow, that's expensive. Rather than saying, you know what, you get the Happy Meal. I'm going to move your furniture. This quote includes trim all the way around. I've got a process called Finished Right. It's the PAL Perfection flooring process. And what we do is da 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 da. So I wouldn't even dismiss the process. I would just dumb it down and make it sexy as hell. So
yep,
it's easy for them to understand. And the sales process and the presentation that we build, what it does is it gives them confidence about using you, and it
yep,
makes them scared to not use you. And it's
yep,
not by bad mouthing anybody. It's by telling them your process in a way that nobody else explains. So for instance, one of the explanations I give people when we're doing carpet, we're going to tear out your carpet and we're going to haul it off and throw it away. We won't leave it out on the sidewalk.
yep,
Well, I didn't say other people did that. I just gave them the impression that, you know, and I'm telling them things that other people just take for granted.
yep,
Now, not only am I telling them that, it's in writing. So it
yep,
makes it more impactful, more believable.
yep,
And it gives them confidence that by the time we're done, we're moving your furniture, we'll move it back where it belongs. We just want you to move the knickknacks and things like that. And then, but we guarantee the installation. This is one way we could provide a lifetime guarantee on the installation. You know, so it really is all in the presentation, and it's done in a way, like I said, you could hire, if we created a presentation for you, you could hire a salesperson, and I guarantee you they could be selling for you within a week, easily.
yep,
They could go out to the house, measure, focus on decorating, you know, we can even product knowledge, because what do you need to know? So for instance, if I have a product I don't like, the explanation is, you know, we used to carry that product and it just, we give a lifetime guarantee on our installations, and that product started having, I love the way it looks. I wish it worked out good. Because like
Yep.
you, I know you did your research, and
Yep.
so you validate what they believe first. Hey, I love that product. I wish we carried it,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason I don't carry it is it doesn't hold up as well. Let me ask you a question. Are you open to other products, other things? So then the next step is getting their permission to show
Yep.
them something else.
Yep.
So, because if you say, like, for instance, we don't carry tile, we don't do tile flooring, and we get customers come in all the time looking for tile. And so we don't say, well, we don't carry tile. Here, let me show you something else. Because now a customer's defensive about their position. What we say is, it's difficult getting tile installed correctly out here. I wish we carried it. I love that tile. It's gorgeous. I would love to do tile. It's just so hard to give a customer a 5-star experience. Let me ask you a question. Are you open to other ideas? The other thing we'll say about tile, we get customers come in all the time with cracked tile and they're trying to match it and you can't. So you got problems with grout, cracked tile. It's a beautiful product. It just doesn't hold up like we wish it did. Would you be open to looking at something else? Usually you ask their permission. They're like, oh yeah, sure. And then you could show them alternative products.
Yep.
So, but even knowing why the product fails is not as important as just saying that, this doesn't hold up as well. I mean, it's great if you know why, but it's not necessary. And that's the argument I'm making is that you can train a salesperson a few talking points that are real, don't bullshit, don't lie, but you can train them real talking points so they could duplicate your efforts. So more people could enjoy your flooring and have the PAL experience.
Yep.
By, dumbing it down and making it sexy. Here's the other thing. When a guy like you is running a store, let's say you are growing to scaling, one of the things that you offer customers is the Benny guarantee. So one thing I like about working for this company is if there is a problem, Benny's been doing this for years. He knows how to do the install. So he's the owner. He'll come out here. He'll actually get on his knees and fix something if it goes wrong. And so, because the last company I worked for, I worked for Home Depot, and it was aggravating. I'd get customers calling me and they were upset about what the installers did or all that. And, I just don't have those problems here. So I love this company.
Yep.
It's powerful for a salesperson to be able to say stuff like that. And that's one of the things that goes on the document.
Yep.
So it's easy to turn anyone really into a trusted expert. And here's the other point I'll make. How, just even without what I'm saying, how long do you think it would take to train somebody to know what you know?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
So,
You can
if
make
you worked really hard at it, maybe 3-4 months.
maybe not even if, I'm one of those monkey see, monkey do kind of guys. If I've got a new guy on the crew, I tell him, you stand there and you watch how I do it for a little bit, and then I'm going to expect you to do it, and I will be here to help you.
Well, I'm talking about salesperson. For a salesperson to have the knowledge
Correct.
and understand products.
In the same exact way, I would have them come along with me, know what to look for in the house. And there are red flags. I don't take every job that comes my way. I don't want a job that comes my way.
Here's the other point of that is it'll take a lot of time to train somebody to have your kind of knowledge and all that. But a lot of times we treat customers as if they already have that knowledge or they need all this knowledge in order to make a buying decision. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is that they have a beautiful new flooring. It's lifetime guaranteed. It's not going to have failures, and that you did a great job. That's what's important.
Correct. Yep. I couldn't agree.
So it's like, is it important that they have an understanding of how you got there? maybe a little bit of the process just to make it complicated enough so you could charge a higher price and gain their confidence.
Oh, absolutely. In carpet cleaning school, you tell Miss Jones, geez, Miss Jones, this is a really nasty spot. I doubt I can get this spot out, but we've got the best equipment, we've got the best techniques, and we're gonna give it our best. And then when the spot comes out, you're a hero. When it doesn't come out, you already set her up with that expectation.
Yeah.
What I'm advocating for is salespeople to know a little bit more about the process. But what I'm learning is they don't have to at all in order to be successful. And I guess that surprises me, it really does. But I understand selling, you know.
So it's okay to train them, but it's important that you dumb it down in a way that's easy for them to understand or explain and not over explain. Like for
Yep.
instance, I got 3 products in the showroom, Revwood, Pergo, and Carndine Corlock. And
Yep.
all 3 products are manufactured differently. But at the end of the day, all 3 products, and again, I'm talking Arizona, we don't
Yep.
have any of these elevation issues or moisture issues. All 3 products will perform exactly the same for a customer. So is it important for them to know the core of each product, how it was manufactured, and and even the installation process?
Well, so what's important for them to know is the limitations of a floating floor and when to introduce a glue down floor or
Why?
a step product.
Why?
Why? Because again, if I've got so basements around here are often 20 by 40. So you've got 800 square feet real quick, big basement. They want to do a cheap floating floor. They found a great product at Home Depot that's $2 a square foot. And you ask them, what are you going to do down here? You can see the bars kind of set up in the corner and they're remodeling and it looks like a man den. And he says, I'm going to put a pool table down here.
Right.
Pool table and floating floor don't go together. So that's why you need to know when to use a floating floor and when not to use a floating floor. The salespeople need to know the limitations of the floating floor systems.
So again, and I'll go back to just dumbing it down.
Yes, real easy to coach. There are red flags to look for.
Yeah.
But
So you're going to do a pool table in here. Yeah, we wouldn't stand behind this product. In fact, I won't even install it for you. This will not work with a pool table.
exactly. But you've got to know that ahead of time. You've got to educate that client ahead of time. It's real easy to tell her, oh yeah, this gray looks beautiful, and have somebody come in and slap down a floating floor, but it's going to fail as soon as that pool table gets installed. And then you're going back and they're saying, why is it buckling? Why is it failing? Well, nobody thought to ask, what's going in this room.
Right.
But again, that is easily coachable. I made a new intake form last night. I'm big on forms. So I started my business when I was hurt. I fell down moving a roll of carpet. I was told by surgeons in Reno I'd never work again. So I created my business so I could run it from an office, even though I didn't want to. And eventually what I learned is I don't like computers. I don't like the office. I like to install. That's fine and dandy.
Yeah.
I'm learning that the sales process can be much simpler than I always thought, but I've seen a lot of people buy flooring showrooms because again, most showrooms are started by a mom and pop business. And eventually the old man's got to retire and he's got to sell it. I watched a showroom sell in Truckee, California to a guy that sold medical supplies his whole life. Never swung a hammer in his life. He wanted to buy a bed and breakfast and retire. No bed and breakfasts for sale. So the real estate agent sold him a flooring business. Said, hey, if you can sell medical equipment, you can sell flooring.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know anything about flooring. He couldn't do any of the work. So that just drives up your overhead. You're relying on other people to do it. He eventually sold the flooring store back to an installer. In this area, I've seen 3 guys now retire and their business literally ends up in a dumpster. You can sell.
That happens in most businesses. I just coached 2 businesses. Both of these companies were started by guys with no flooring experience. Their expertise is in marketing and sales. But they hired me to train them and show them a process. And we created simple processes so their salespeople, who are also not flooring experts, can go out and close the job in the home. You know, and again, both these companies stand behind their work, have 5-star reviews, you know, and they're learning some stuff through failures, but they're making the adjustments and going on. So all of that, I started my business with no flooring experience. So my son and I did. I hired operations manager, and again, I go back to Arizona's much easier, but I hired my operation manager, had no flooring experience. Their job was to go in there and make sure the customer was happy. And if there was a problem, hey, installer, come here, fix this. And it's not to say the installers had to do things unpaid, you know, but they had to do the job right, and they got paid for the job that they did. So, you know, this is part of the problem with communication. And I addressed this with Matt Garcia on the installers. And one of the biggest problems with installers is they believe that the store owner is more knowledgeable. So they get pissed off because they're underpaid. And really the problem is the store owner doesn't truly understand how complicated it is. And then when the installer tells the store owner gets pissed because it sounds like he's just bitching and wants more money. They don't have a good professional conversation so that the store owner really understands. And we just went through this with talking about stairs, you know, doing carpeting on stairs with spindles. I've done upholstery in my life, so I know it's no big deal to go around stuff and staple. That's like no big deal. But then I saw a video of a guy doing stairs with spindles on it. It's like, holy shit, it took basically a whole day extra to do the work.
Correct.
But I never, as a store owner, I never knew that, and I would never adjust the pay that much for an installer. But the installers get pissed off at me because they think I'm the rich white guy that knows it all, you know, and I don't.
So when I started my first business, it was going to be an install business by installers, and I was going to sell stock, and they were all going to be invested owners because you need guys that care. But again, that's why installers in the field can get aggravated, because we do expect these things to be already taken care of. We expect this to already be handled. You know, at the end of the day, if I'm measuring the job, showing them samples, and installing the job, honestly, why is the salesperson getting paid? You know, I understand if you're going out and you're hustling your own sales and you're doing outside sales, you know, you see an apartment building going up and you pull in and you sell them 6 miles of LVP to put in their apartment building, you should get a commission for that. But the installers just get frustrated that it seems like nobody cares what we're doing.
So here's what I would do if I was the installer. I would go in and have a conversation with the store owner and said, look, I created this form for your salespeople. These are the things I want you to look for. And this is what, and it's not too detailed and it's not too crazy. Here's some of the things you need to charge a little extra for. And because they got to charge on their end and make sure that they're getting enough money to pay the installer. And, you know, and what's fair is fair. So the customer's the one that should be paying for it, you know, at the end of the day. But
even simple
the installers, I was shocked when I got into this business because the installers come to me and say, how much do you pay? I'm like, what do you mean? How much do I pay? You're going to let me determine how much I pay you? You know, it's a very unusual circumstance that
with the big labor shops that what they're used to. What the client doesn't understand is Home Depot, Lowe's, Lumber Liquidators, they all operate like that. They don't have in-house installers. So when you buy from a big box store, you've got to deal with a subcontractor. And you will know, dealing with a subcontractor, you don't have that much control over him other than quality of work. He's licensed, he's insured, you can make him return. But it's not always easy coordinating that, you know? So I've seen both. I've seen showrooms come to me and say, how much do you charge, Benny? And we'll just add 20%. And as long as I can make 20% off you, I'm happy. And I've seen other people come to me and say, this is our price list, take it or leave it, you know? And again, I've worked my way through the ranks as an employee, as a subcontract guy. Now I'm direct to homeowners. It's just easier for me when I've seen the job and when I can put the client's expectations right where I need them to be and explain how it's going to go. Whereas again, I run into frustration when there's a problem on a job with an installer. Who do they call? Usually the salesman. But when the salesman can't have an intelligent conversation about the process we're trying to achieve in the field, it gets frustrating on our end because often the right material is not there. There aren't checks and balances in place.
Yeah.
What is great, you're creating systems so that people can learn faster without the failures.
Right.
But personally, I've been doing floors for 20 years. I've lived in 8 different states. I see a lot of showrooms where they're not doing it correctly. Those checks and balances aren't there. And when there's an issue, there's nobody intelligent to speak to about the problem. I had a problem at $1 million house where the client wasn't happy and wanted to speak to somebody that was older than I am. I look a little bit young. I've got the baby face. You know, when I tell people I've been doing it for 20 years, they often think I'm 20 years old with a beard.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 40 next month, you know? So I know what I'm talking about, but it's difficult when the salesman misses something and it puts the installer in a bad position. I've
Right.
walked homes where the installer did the measure and the installer told, or the salesman rather, and the salesman will set the client expectations extraordinarily unrealistically high. So now the installer comes in and he's being looked at under a skeptical light. And I've got to work my way to gaining this client's trust back because they've been fed misinformation by a salesman. I don't think they're lying. I don't think it's, I've sat in the big stores and I've watched them sell flooring. I've heard the spiel and it's basically, you know, you repeated what the reps told you, but the rep came there to sell his product to you. Of course, the rep is going to tell you it's the best product in the world. It can go anywhere. He's not going to tell you the failure rate and the problems associated with the product.
Right.
So often the salesperson just doesn't have full access to that information. But what was startling to me yesterday, Jerry, to be honest with you, when you started the Salesman Club, you got a whole bunch of contractors that were interested in improving their sales. That's why you and I still talk. We may not agree on everything. You're doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. I would just like to see the industry as a whole improve. If installers can communicate better with salespeople, there would be less animosity, you know?
So, and let me address this, and this might be shocking. I don't give a shit at the industry as a whole. I want to see the people that have a desire to do a better job improve, because that's the ones that you're going to change. You know, at the end of the day, and people say this, and they have this nirvana dream that I can change the industry. No, I can help the people who want to improve, change. Like you talked about that $1 million home. Problems are opportunities. If, you know, a good business takes that problem and say, we got to come up with a better process so this kind of thing doesn't happen again.
When that problem is discovered ahead of time.
Sometimes it's not, you know, and we do need a better process, but that's the only way you're going to find out you need a better process is when you do have a problem.
But that right there is what we're trying to improve with this conversation. If salespeople could just learn to do a little bit more investigation, go in, do your sales presentation, sell them on the specs, sell them that color, help them decorate and choose a color, you know, but also peel back the carpet and just look what kind of subfloor we've got. You know,
here's what I would say to that. And depending on what area I lived in, my process would be, you go out, you sell the job. If I have an $8, $10, $12, $15, $20,000 job then I might have a check system where I send my expert out to view the project before we get started to make sure everything is right. Because no matter how well I train that salesperson, he's not going to be as knowledgeable as my installer or my expert. That's just not going to happen. And I want my salesperson moving fast. I don't want them overthinking. I want them to be successful, and I want to give my customer an excellent experience. So my check and balance is to say on bigger projects, and I even developed this inside our company. We never really got to using it, but I would call it like a gold star project. Okay, this is important. Or I've got a customer that's particularly, this customer needs more attention. So I want you to send my expert out there just to do a confirmation and walk the job site. It doesn't have to happen on every job, because if I'm selling carpet, that's not a big deal, right? I'm tearing out the old shit, putting in new. So I just don't run across enough problems. But, you know, there might be times where you say, okay, I need to send somebody out here, but after I get the job, I'm going to send them out after I get a deposit. And maybe I have 2 or 3 days, my guy goes out there and I realize, you know what, there's something a lot extra here. And I give the customer a right to, you know, not do that job, or I adjust my pay, but I have that opportunity to do that then. That's how I would overcome those kind of situations. But again, in Arizona, it doesn't come up often enough, so I won't build that process in. If I'm in Louisiana and I'm having that problem often, then I build in that process.
So let me ask you this, if I may, please. Do you think I'm better off doing I can crunch these numbers in the truck when I need to. I always tell people I'll go back to the office, I'll text you an estimate in writing, but I can sit in the truck and do it in their driveway in half an hour if I wanted to. Do you think I would close more jobs if I were to present that number in that house the day I measured the job?
Yes, because I would rather buy from you than an email.
All right. So, and I did learn that real quickly. I try to be more expensive than anybody else in my area, but again, I honestly feel like I'm providing a better service. My business plan has been, I've eliminated all the moving parts, you know, you deal directly with me. But I did notice when I get busy, I oftentimes will just look at photos and send a price, and I do not ever get those jobs.
Here's the other thing I would tell you to do. Go over your last 10, 15 jobs. Find out, take out the material price. So what do your jobs include? Floor prep?
Oftentimes, no. So my estimate goes like this: remove and dispose of carpet or the existing, move and reset the furniture, remove and reset the baseboards, deliver, install the new flooring, and fix the squeaks, probably.
Fix the what?
Fix the squeaks. A lot of squeaky around here.
So go over your last 10, 15 estimates, see what all those things add up to per foot. See if you come up with an average number that you can say the material cost is this, the labor cost is $695, and it includes all this stuff. Without knowing the linear foot of the baseboard, you don't need to know that, you know, without knowing all this stuff. The only big difference is there's going to be a difference between removing carpet and removing tile.
Correct.
So but other than that, so whatever your price is, $695, you're going to charge an extra $3 to remove tile. Whatever the price is. Okay. So you can give a price like that in the home that includes everything.
I know those numbers off the top of my head. So I am the business as well. I've paid my own taxes. I started a business when I learned what you could do with taxes. I know what it cost me to buy a piece of sandpaper. I know what it cost me to buy a quart of finish. I am always auditing the numbers. I know those numbers real quick. I know it cost me per day to put 2 guys in a truck and go do a job.
So if you find that average price is $695, then start charging $750, so you make sure that you're covered. on most all jobs, give them the material price and the labor price together, and it includes everything to get an all-inclusive project done right. And
Yep.
this we'll take care of the furniture. We don't charge you extra for that. We, now you're saying stuff like that. We don't charge you extra. It's all included. This includes tear out, disposal. This includes everything. So we do the job right, and you can give them a price like that, and then they have an opportunity to get it going. We're booked out about 3 weeks. I can do Thursday the 18th, or would you want this installed on the 19th? Would
Yep.
that work better for you? So now
Yep.
you're asking when they like to have it installed, and you're not even asking them if they want to go with the project or not. Asking them if they like to schedule the install date.
Yep.
And just
Yeah.
assume the sale.
Yep. That's a brilliant strategy as well. Yep.
So, and have fun and decorate and be excited for them. And
Yeah.
that's the big difference. It's like, God, this is going to look so amazing when it's done. I love doing this job, because when I get done, it just changes your home.
Oh, yeah.
It's every bit as exciting as buying a new car,
Yep. You can spend as much money as you want building a house. I've worked inside $20 million homes in Lake Tahoe. When you walk in, you see floors and paint,
Yeah.
Most stuff is hidden, and every day I tell people, get what you want, because at this age in your life, you shouldn't have to wake up every morning and hate your floors and hate your home. And it is as simple as just changing the floor and really changing the feel of the space, and it really is my definition of easy. People look at it as an overwhelming task, and I tell them, just pick out a floor and do no more. I will say this. I stopped line iteming things back in 2014 in California. I had a lot of repeat work in the same neighborhood, and I had priced 2 jobs differently. And I did end up with 2 homeowners comparing estimates and questioning that. So I got away from line iteming things years and years ago.
Okay, good.
But that being said, as I got back into selling hardwood with install and furniture, some of these jobs now are $30,000, $40,000. And when you just give them one number, you get a lot of sticker shock. So I've decided now that if it's over $20,000, I will line item again. Because again, when it's over $20,000, you're often looking at $8,000 to $10,000 worth of just hardwood.
Okay, so your line item, though, doesn't have to be anything more, though, than labor and material.
Correct.
And labor, and you might throw in a couple other little lines, but not. What I would do is throw in those lines and a price and say, I won't charge you extra for that, because you build it into your labor price.
Yep.
So that makes a great presentation. You're doing it all. And honestly, when I teach everybody to give a price in the home there. Now, if you're doing something that's $30,000, $40,000 project, to me, that's very serious. Maybe you shouldn't do a quote in the home. Maybe you shouldn't try to close it there. Say, I'm going to go back, figure everything out for you. I mean, just from a presentation standpoint, maybe you should take that back, figure it out, but then you're going to schedule a time to come back and present it. Do not send an email. A $30,000 quote, never send an email for that. Go back in their home or schedule them to come in the showroom. What I would say to help close that job is say, would you like me to come back out here? Or I don't just email a quote because it's complicated and I want to go over the project again, make sure we got everything right with you, but I'm going to give you a guaranteed accurate estimate. And so would you like me to come back here, or would you like to come in the showroom?
Yep.
And schedule it with them when you're right there.
Yeah.
But it's just, the sales training is about being prepared, being prepared how to answer questions and do it rightly. And again, it's doing things. Somebody was arguing with me on the forum the other day. I do this, I do that, I do. Well, really what I'm teaching you, so it's not you doing it. It's so somebody else is duplicating you and the customer's still getting an excellent experience. Somebody without all that knowledge, I would rather hire somebody with a good personality that they loved and want to buy from, because they're going to trust them.
Correct. And it's easier to train a guy the way you want him trained rather
Yeah.
than break bad habits. Yep.
Yeah. So if you hire somebody like that and they go out and sell for you, is that customer still going to get a good experience, even though that guy's an idiot, doesn't know anything about flooring?
Absolutely.
That's that's what's important, right? That the customer gets a good flooring at the end of the day. I don't want to lie or mislead. I don't teach people unethical practices. I just teach them that it's not as important to be as knowledgeable as a guy that's been installing his whole life and knows everything about it.
No, but to know some of it would be helpful, you know? And that's all I'm saying. I don't expect every salesperson to be a knowledgeable, experienced craftsman, but just understand the labor that goes into these processes and some of the potential red flags to look out for. Because even if you understood the process a little bit, again, everybody says you've got to be familiar with what the other team is doing. If you've ever worked on a crew and they walk away, you kind of wonder, where is everybody? Am I working all by myself? You know, and you have to be assured that the other team members are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we're all working to achieve a common goal.
Right. And within your sales presentation, though, part of that should be about the installers, where you're showing them mad respect. You show them that they're certified, that they're qualified to do the installation on your behalf, because you rate the installers on every job. And so we make sure we only hire good people. And this is one of the reasons that we give a lifetime guarantee on our installations. We know that we're going to give you a great project every time. That's the PAL promise. There, I just gave you the lingo. The PAL promise. We're going to do this, you know. So again, it's not as important that the salesperson, you know, the knowledge is okay when they ask questions. I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times when people ask me a question and said my answer was, you know, I'm not sure. I just own the place. I said, it's really the salespersons that know. And a lot of times the question that they were asking wasn't really that important to them anyhow, you know, and I could find out the answer to them, but sometimes people are just trying to impress their wives, and they're, you know, you got the engineer that's asking questions that they don't really want to know the answer to. And if the answer is, oh, I'm not sure, I can find that out for you, you know, sometimes that's good enough, you know, especially if they fall in love with that flooring and all that. So I'm just saying, you don't make things like that slow you down. The fact that it's difficult to hire somebody with knowledge. It's difficult to hire people, period. And that's why it's important to be able to hire good, reliable people, not knowledgeable flooring people.
Correct. That I agree with as well.
And keep your processes and systems and your training done in a way that makes them successful. And that takes the work, but it's evergreen. Once you do that work, once you create those processes and systems, that's a lot of work, but you never have to do it again. You're tweaking and improving. But that's the thing that your competition doesn't do. Your competition doesn't have a presentation. They don't have a process. They're hiring people, giving them minimal training, sending them out. So we are at a better advantage, even though our person might not be experienced and knowledgeable.
Yep. We can agree on a lot of things, you know. You're definitely good at what you do, you know.
So it's, you know, I mean, what really helps me and what I love about what I'm doing is I'm usually more impressed by you guys than you are. When I interview people and I help them build a presentation, it's like these guys that do sand and refinish. You know, guys are doing sand and refinish for $3-4 a foot. And they don't think what they do is impressive. And I start going through all the steps that it takes to do a good job on a sand and refinish. And I'm just like, holy shit, how do you guys not realize that this is impressive work? And not just anybody can do that. You should be getting $6, $7, $8 a foot for it easily, because it's very complicated work. It's not simple.
In Boston area, there's so many guys doing it though. I
And
love this.
I could crush somebody doing it for 3 or 4. I don't care that they're doing it. I will crush them with a better sales presentation. Not, it's worth more and customers will pay more, and not all customers are going to compare prices. Now, if I'm doing somebody's sand and refinish job for $7,500 and somebody comes in at $2,500, are you really going to trust a guy charging $2,500 to redo your floors? You know,
Correct.
I mean, that's scary.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. What if they got 2 bids for $3,000 and you walk in and tell them 5,500? You
So
know?
maybe you can come down a little bit, but you know what happens? Customers call you back and they say, wow, you are higher than the other guys. And I always ask, why are they calling you back?
Yep.
If they liked and trust the cheaper guys, why didn't they just use them? They're calling you back because they don't like and trust the other guys. The other guys were cheaper, so you just need to give them some justification to go with you. So maybe you come down a little bit.
Yep. With that, there's a ton of trust involved because to refinish your floors, we do a lot of refinish work. We've been doing it for years. It's a lot of my business now. In order to refinish your floors and slap down 3 coats of oil-based poly, which is still real popular in my area, you basically have to be out of the house for a week.
Yeah.
So it involves, you've got to leave me a key. You've got to trust the floor guys in your home for a week while you're either at a hotel room or you're out of town. A lot of these clients will schedule it while they're out of town on vacation. You know, my school vacation weeks are all book up real quick, you know. But that I try to sell there. But I talked to Matt Garcia about this as well. I love that you're trying to push it up to that price. I started out at $3 a square foot because that's what I was told. You know, I hired a guy that's been doing it for three generations. He's been doing it for 35 years. He says it's $3 a square foot. We're off and running. We talk to everybody. I push the prices up to 4, 5. I got a couple jobs at $6 a square foot. But then December and January are my slow months. I'm direct to homeowner, and once the tree goes up, nobody wants me in their home. I don't have any builder work. I don't have any new construction. I don't have any showrooms. So I
So
get slow.
do this. Charge $8 a foot and give a 25% discount if they're doing over 1,000 feet.
I'll try it. You know, I will definitely try it. I've been talking to subcontract crews in the area. They're making $250 a square foot. Subcontracting sand and finish in this area.
You've got to ignore what other people are doing, just not give a shit. And you know, you're the customer. I did this post the other day. It's like, you know, should you know and study what your competition is doing? No. Know and understand your customers. Study your customers. You want to study somebody? Don't study the competition, because everybody's industry and everybody's speaking the same lingo. You know, you want to succeed, study your customer, understand what's important to them.
Yep. Well, and there are many types of client as well, you know, and that's where that target marketing comes in. You know, there are neighborhoods I don't want to do work in. There are certain neighborhoods where we want to do every one of these houses, you know, but there is that dance that goes along with this kind of work as well.
Yeah. And there is a difference between charging $6 a foot and charging $8 a foot and giving a 25% discount right now if you're doing over 1,000 feet.
Yep. And I get
there's so much more value to that right now we're doing that. So
and I will definitely take that to heart. I take everything that is said, I digest and take in, and I'll try it. I'll see how things work. I would love to be selling this work at $7 and $8 a square foot.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, let's say they only have 500 feet. Well, rather than charging them a minimum, you get the $8 a foot.
Yep. Yeah. I try not to use the word minimum anymore. Because then people get the sense that they're entitled to more, you know. When you tell somebody it's a minimum charge to do this hallway, they start looking around and going, well, what else do we have done while you're here? You know, I'd rather sand it all while I'm there, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. This went long.
Happy Friday. Hope all is well.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks, Benny. That was a great conversation. I hope a lot of people get a lot out of it. I know they're enjoying the podcast, especially they can get some good information back on it. If you disagree with what I said, challenge me. I love to talk about it, not to prove anybody right or wrong, but just to have a discussion to figure out what the best business practices are. You know, that's what it's all for. It's not to say I'm right about everything. You know, so although my ex-wife would disagree. All right, guys. Thanks, Benny. All right, guys. Thanks for joining the Flooring Business Podcast. If you want to have a one-on-one discovery call for your flooring business, where we can review where you're at and how you can increase sales and profits by over 30%, go to jerrylevinson.com. And in fact, in there's a free assessment where you can score your business and see which areas need the most improvement. So everybody have a great profitable week and have an excellent new year. Happy New Year, everyone.